I'm curious, I know you have the title of run game coordinator. What exactly goes into that from the defensive perspective, and what does that job mean?
At the end of the day, it means run game preparation. What I've pretty much been doing, but I have the responsibility making sure our fits are good, and I just assist Coach Nix with everything he needs me to do on that aspect. Just basically assisting him and making sure we're on point, definitely up front with the run game plan and our fits, whatever runs we're going to get that week.
The way the odd man front is likely to be set up, at least how I've traditionally seen it, there's kind of like a hybrid between defensive end and outside linebacker. As a defensive line coach, do you work with those guys, or does that fall more under like the linebackers coaches working with those pass rushers?
We share the wealth. We share the wealth. Depending on the drill, more when it comes to pass rush and some of the rundown stuff. That's more on my side. When it comes to coverage, it's on Coach Nix and for the other coaches to assist. But we kind of share the wealth in that aspect.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
How's it going?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining us. How would you say your group looked on Saturday?
It was like a first scrimmage. There were some things that we did well. There's some things that were a little sloppy. Wasn't displeased with the effort. I felt like we had some situations that we hadn't seen in a while, and once it gets hot and that tempo gets going, mental errors will pick up and have some things that we have to clean up. But with us not going all spring and having a little time with them before we got started, before camp, wasn't terrible, but obviously it wasn't our standard. There's some things that we definitely have to clean up, and we can't help the offense and beat ourselves. And those were some self-inflicted things up front that we got to get cleaned up this week.
What was your relationship like with Coach Traylor? I guess getting to know him and Coach Nix really and this new scheme. How is it adjusting to working with these?
Very easy. They're professionals. All a coach can ask is to be expected to held to a high standard and to be told what to do. And there's a clear expectation of what's expected of us as coaches. And as far as football with our kids and caring for our kids, and schematically with Coach Nix, making sure I know exactly what my D linemen need to do as far as scheme goes and discipline goes. And then in recruiting with Coach Traylor, I mean, he lets us know exactly what we need to do, and there is no gray area. And I'm really pleased and happy with the first part of the year working with these guys. They're pros. They've been in places. They've been in a lot of situations, so they know how to do everything from coaching to recruiting, and it's been a easy transition.
All right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey, Chase, you're up.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Not UTSA related, but local product. PJ Hall gets a chance with the Texans here. How excited are you for him being back here in this state and to get this shot there over in Houston?
Very, very happy for him. Obviously, wasn't a happy moment with him with the Raiders. I know that's unfortunate, but honestly, I think it's the best thing that happened to him because a lot of times when you get drafted in the second round, you get that money up front. You don't really know the hard side of the league. So I told him, now you know how quickly this thing can end up you being home and being out of the league. So now he just has a newfound chip on his shoulder, and he's back home. And I'm really, really happy for him. And I just want him to take this opportunity and don't ever look back. Anything that got in the way, any ego, any thing that held him from being his best, hope he can put that behind him, and I fully expect him to do that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Coach.
No problem.
Hey, Greg, you're up.
How is the defensive line group overall handling the transition to the odd man front? What has that been like?
Honestly, there's some carryover to what we've done before. We were multiple last year, so it really hasn't been that much of a transition. We've done a lot of things before. Some of these guys from high school to here have seen something. There's nobody that absolutely hasn't done something that we've done here. So there's some carryover. It's up to me to kind of find out what we've done, and we may call it in this defense, we may call it this, and in the past they may have called it something else. So I may say, okay, well, this is just like that. And so the carryover has been there, and it hasn't been that hard of an adjustment. I just think game day situations like the scrimmage, when things are going fast and it's game day tempo, that's when the confusion comes in. So I always tell them it's one thing to know it in the classroom and nothing's on the line. It's another thing to know it when that tempo is going and it's hot and that drive gets long. We need to know it better so we can cut out the errors. But it hasn't been that hard for them. There's a lot of carryover from what we've done in the past. So I think mentally they're handling it really well.
How well does it fit Jalen Haynes? What role do you see him taking, and what are your expectations for him?
I have very high expectations. One thing that I have to remind myself and everybody pretty much is Jalen hasn't played a lot of football. Last year, that was his first time starting and playing that much ball. So I expect a huge jump from him in this season. He's been in pretty much every technique that we're playing this year. So the transition wasn't hard for him at all. So I expect him to have a big year. He expects himself to have a big year, and he's our senior. He's one of our leaders, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do in this defense.
You have some of these other guys standing up and moving to linebacker. How has that been for DQ Henry?
Well, DQ stood up last year. You know, so just like I said, DQ can put his hands in the ground and he can stand up. Last year we stood up a lot. You know, so it really hasn't been that much of a transition as far as that goes. Now, obviously we call things different, and the coverage aspect of it, but is a little different. But I think he's handling it really well. He's a natural pass rusher. He's physical in the run game as well. So I don't see this being something that he can't conquer.
Is that the same thing for Solomon Wise, where he's kind of used to what's being asked of him here, or is it more of a change for him?
Say that again.
Is it the same situation with Solomon Wise, where he's kind of used to these responsibilities in this role, or is it a little different for him?
I would say it's similar.
What has he shown you so far through camp?
Solomon Wise.
Yeah.
With him being a senior, I see a different sense of urgency. He played for us last year, made some plays. I think his hunger is there. He's determined, and he's taking this as an opportunity to reach the goals that he wants for himself. And I know he has very high standards for himself. He had a heck of a spring before we had to leave for COVID, and just like Jalen, DQ, Solo, and Lorenzo Danzler, you always see a different look in a senior's eye because they realize, hey, this is it. I don't have any more time. So his sense of urgency has increased, and I really expect him to have a real big season for us as well.